A quick shout out to our sponsor and podcast home app, Anchor FM. Do you want to start a podcast? As your host of coaching you through all things education and the founder of ANC Unlimited, I use Anchor FM for easy editing, connecting with other podcast apps such as Spotify, Apple, and of course now iHeartRadio. It's free, so I can create as many episodes or bonus episodes for my listeners as I choose. Sign up today at anchor.fm. Connection, engagement, rigor, success. Here on Coaching You Through All Things Education podcast, we are building a legacy of success together, one episode at a time, each Tuesday at noon. As your host, Anne Labangana Clay of ANC Unlimited, we will unpack relevant topics in education together. And when I'm not podcasting, coaching, or consulting, stop by our website, acunlimited.org, for our new blog, Coaching You EDU, and a menu of services. If something resonates with you during this episode, message me on the podcast app of your choice or leave a comment on LinkedIn, our company Facebook page, or on Twitter. Our guests appreciate your feedback. Check out the story notes for our social media details, and certainly, if you have an episode suggestion, send it to coachingallthingsedu@gmail.com. Now let's dive in. All right. Hello and welcome to episode 29 of Coaching You Through All Things Education podcast.
My age.
We are so ecstatic this morning. We have our award-winning author, motivational speaker, leader, adjunct professor, sports journalist, Mr. Jerald Hoover. Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Well, we're honored to have you, indeed. So we want to have our listening audience learn a little bit about you. Could you provide them with a brief summary about yourself and the Hero book series that we're here to talk about today?
Well, sure. As you mentioned, I'm a writer, sports journalist, leader, if you will. I love doing things for my fellow man. A lot of things that I've done is sort of born out of a necessity. The writing part happened. My first book I wrote, I was in third grade, and I wrote a book called "I Was a Sad Boy." And the reason I wrote that book was because my mom and dad was going through divorce.
Sure.
The divorce thing I could have taken because my dad unfortunately was in and out of prison. So the separation from home,
sure,
I was used to it. But the fact that he wasn't around got me. And I think what used to really get me was when I used to see my classmates being picked up or doing engagement things with their dad. That would just get to me. Or if I watch television, I see something on baseball, like let's say I'm watching the Mets or Yankees, and
sure,
and somebody will hit a ball in the stands, and you'll see some father-like figure getting the ball for the kid. So, those things that would like make me sad. But I would write, and I didn't know what journalizing was, or I didn't know writing a diary. I just wrote, but I wrote a lot because I stuttered. And you'll hear even now. I had a very speech impediment, and I still have it.
Okay.
But I was able to, I guess during the show, I'll answer how I was able to overcome it.
Yes.
But I would just write down my thoughts, and my thoughts became, structured. They became a thing to do. Then I would see things in society that forced me to write stuff. Now, again, I didn't know anything about blogging because we didn't have that kind of stuff back then. We're talking about 1983, and or I'm sorry, when I was 8 years old, that was in the 70s. But
Okay.
because I'm 55, but I've been writing since I was 8. I'm 55 now,
Okay.
so all these
Yes.
years
Wow.
I've been writing. When I was in the ninth grade, I started writing a book about race relations, and
Ah.
I got to
Mm-hmm.
about maybe the fifth chapter, and then I think I let an English teacher discourage me. Someone of authority discouraged me from
Sure.
writing
Sure.
whatever it was. So I put that down. But this hero book series, My Friend, My Hero, this was born out of a speech that I wrote because
Yeah.
my dad and other members of my family were abusing alcohol and drugs and stuff. And
Right.
I
Right.
wrote a
Right.
speech, and the speech
Mm-hmm.
was written by a 17-year-old me, and I was writing it to other 17, 18-year-olds not to do drugs and different things of that
Yes.
nature.
Yes.
And as God will have it, the
Yes,
speech
indeed.
got well, it didn't get traction outside of me because I didn't have a platform to put it. Like when I
Okay.
mean,
Sure.
so
Sure.
I posted online back then. We didn't have online back then,
Right.
but
That's
it stayed
true.
resonated in my spirit, and
And
I got like a revelation to put legs behind the speech.
all
In other
right
words,
now.
let this be something that a character would say in a story. And
Yeah.
one thing led to another. I remember I was playing basketball in a place called Fourth Street Playground in Mount Vernon, and I had this epiphany while I was actually playing to
Right.
name a character Bennett, which is my
Love
lead
it.
character.
Love it. Yeah.
Uh, Allow him to give the speech at some point in the story, and the rest was history. So from
Wow.
1983 up until 1992, I
Okay.
have been wrestling with My Friend, My Hero, the story, and
Yes.
here we are.
And here we are, right? Is
Yeah.
it 25 years later? Am I correct? From the birth
Actually,
time
no,
or
it's close to 30.
oh sorry.
Well, the story,
Right.
itself from 1983 to
Oh
what are
yeah.
we,
Okay. So
where
you
we
want me
in?
to do the math, darling. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I think we're in year 38. If I'm not
Is it
mistaken. Yeah.
whoa,
Yeah.
38 years later?
We're in year 38 because I started in 1983. If my
Okay,
math
yeah.
is right, my
Okay.
math is right with 2001, right? I mean 2021. So
2021. Yes.
now,
Uh-huh.
the interesting thing is, once I started writing it, in other words, once I actually started, the first 9 drafts I wrote by hand. I kid you not,
Ah, okay.
in spiral
And
notebook
they're
paper.
pretty thick books. I mean,
Yeah,
I
no,
have them all.
and
Yes.
what's interesting is that I had a cousin. Well, I have a cousin. He still with us. He would do my editing, and so
Okay.
let's say if I had a notebook about this thick, he would
Uh-huh.
go and make his changes and put his addendums in and put things in. So it'll go from this thick to like this thick, and then I
Yes.
was writing by hand, so I had to write what I have, and then I had to incorporate
Sure.
his changes. Now I'm be honest with you, and I think about this, fairly often. I had to be on some sort of maniacal craze mission to do that
Okay.
because now we're so convenient with texting and talking into devices and everything else. You couldn't imagine somebody handwriting that much, but I did it.
End it all. Yes.
And
Uh-huh.
I did it, and but from 1984 to 1992, I got rejected by agents, lawyers who represented, writers,
Sure. Sure.
editors, and publishers. I got rejected 42 times
Woo. Ooh.
over a 8-year period. 40, I mean, literally. And everyone would tell me how good the book was, the story, and I mean, I would get all types of accolades of house.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
really, I kid you not. I mean, it was. I mean, I almost expected it to be like the first 3 paragraphs to be raving, about who I was and what I was doing. And they all said the book was timely and thought
Right.
provoking, all that
Right.
kind of stuff. But I would get, however,
Sure.
therefore, unfortunately, comma, I
Okay.
knew it was rejection.
Ah,
And
got you.
one day, a man in Virginia gave me a shot. He sent me a letter
Okay.
back and said, if you would promise to sell 500 copies,
Oh, okay.
I'll
Okay.
print up 1,000. And I
Oh,
thought that was too good to be true. I was like, you can't be serious. So I mean,
right,
I
right,
had to get that thing.
exactly.
I want that thing notarized and everything
Right, right,
else. So
right. I know that's
before
right.
we get into the particulars, he came through with it. Now, what's interesting is that I grew up in the projects where my story takes
Okay,
place.
sure.
I
Uh-huh.
belong to a big church, the United House of Prayer for All People.
All right now.
We have one in Delaware also,
Yeah.
and all through Carolinas, New York, and so forth and so on.
Right.
And I
Right.
have a big family, so I'm like, wait a minute, you're telling me all I gotta do is sell 500 and you put up 1,000?
Exactly.
So I made up an invoice sheet, name,
Sweet.
phone number, address,
Right.
amount. I mean, all kinds of stuff. I made up. I use a word table. Made up
Okay.
I
Now.
made up a thing. Start writing down names of people that I
Yes.
know that I knew.
Exactly.
Like I said, I grew up in the projects. We had 5 buildings at 100 units each.
Okay.
I
Oh
knock on
wow.
doors.
Nice. I
Some
know
people said
that's right.
no. Some people said yeah. Then we had a family reunion in Boston. Never forget.
Okay.
And we had a talent night. Now I didn't go. I didn't have any books or anything like that because this is in mid 1992.
Okay.
So the book didn't get published in November, but we had a talent night, and that was funny. I was the one that was assigned to drive the seniors up to Boston,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So
Look
so
how
I
the
had
Lord
so
put things in
I was in a
alignment.
15 passenger van,
Yes.
me the youngest, and I had nothing but 65 and above in the car behind me. But it,
Right.
was,
Right.
it, was,
Right.
it was amazing. So they
Sure.
they asked whoever was running the family union if I could speak. Now I'm like, okay, I stutter.
Right.
So why am I doing? Long
Oh,
story short,
yes. Sure.
the only thing I could do was tell them that I have a book that I'm writing and I need people to buy it. I
Yes.
think I sold about 300. I had 300 orders that night. Like, I
Wonderful.
kid you not. People wrote me checks, gave me the address, say when the book comes, boom.
Right.
Now I was selling the book for $7.95,
Okay.
eight
Uh-huh.
dollars, right?
At that time. Yeah, yeah,
Right, $8. Come on. I mean, like who? I mean, like I never give back a nickel. You know what I mean? You give me $8,
Right, right, right.
but
They
but
just give you a
but what was interesting, I
yes.
couldn't tell you how many people will say, "Here's $10, keep
I
the
was
change."
just getting ready to say, right? Keep the change, right?
I mean, I can't tell you how
Awesome.
many people did that.
God
Yeah,
is
keep the change, keep
good,
the change.
right?
So, but it was a message to my madness by keeping that 790, 95. And then I
Oh.
learned the art of why things are 9.99.
Ah, yes. Oh,
I
yes. There's
learned the
a
art
whole
because
science behind that economy. Uh-huh.
because we in our silly minds think if
Marketing.
I'm giving you $10, I'm getting change back. No, actually, when you're paying more, well, not that you're in a place where there's no sales
Right,
tax,
right.
but
You're
you know what I mean. You're actually paying more than 9.99. You're actually paying
right.
over 10,
Sure.
$10. But the psychology of 9.99, it doesn't sound as bad as $10
That's
when
correct.
you're looking at it.
Right. That's
So
right.
I said, well, I'm gonna do 7.95, and I'm like, less
Uh-huh.
is more. Oh, I couldn't tell you how much of a profit I was making behind that. Long story
Oh, I'm
short,
sure.
I sold within less than a 5 month period over 1,000 copies.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh my
that run,
gosh. That's
that first run
awesome.
that he did for me,
Yes. Right?
it was done. It was just a matter of delivering orders. So I crushed
Yes.
that, and I must have sold about 5,000 to
Oh
him.
my
Yeah,
goodness. That's
and
awesome.
then now unfortunately the kind of publishing that he did was a little to the left, if you want, or to the right. I mean,
Okay. All
he was
right.
an
Yes, we
extremist.
get it.
He
Yes.
was
It
a black
wasn't
extremist, and
right, right,
so
right. Sure.
I mean, I understood his methodology, but like if I'm trying to get the book into the school systems, which was
Right. Yes.
where my focus
That
was.
publisher was not as
Yeah, I
in
can't be having a book that
sure.
says, I mean, on the catalog from niggas to gods and this,
Right, 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 right.
the white man's the devil and all that kind of stuff. I'm like,
Yeah, that part
they,
won't go in this.
you know what I mean? That like a former pastor of mine would say,
Right,
that dog ain't gonna hunt. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, bruh, I love you, man, but I can't do this.
right,
Now,
exactly.
now, mind you, I made a lot of money for him.
Uh-huh,
I mean,
sure.
because
Mhm.
yeah, I was making a whole lot of money for him. So, but
Right,
I
yes.
just, I had to separate from him. And then I got with Winston Derrick, who
Uh-huh.
who published a Bible
Oh, okay,
in
yes.
out in Tennessee. Long story short, I'll say this: I went from being rejected 42 times to
Oh,
now I'm in my sixth publication.
oh,
So I ended up
amazing,
getting 5 other
amazing
publishers,
success story.
and
Yes,
then
yes.
and then now I'm publishing myself with my own business.
I
So I
love
use
it.
Amazon, Ingram Spark, and not
Yes.
only do I have the book, but as I sent you, I have a curriculum that goes with it.
Yeah, and
So
I've got them
so
all. Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely
I was
love. We're
taught
gonna
a lot of
unpack
lessons.
that in a moment, if you don't mind.
Sure.
All right, my dear. So my second question is, and you talked a little bit about, you talked about how you got to writing and how that kind of eased, um, kind of calmed your spirit as far as the things that were going on with you. Can you unpack a little more about the trauma and subsequent healing that your book series depicts?
Uh, I didn't realize growing up because I was, a young child that there's power in reading and power in
Oh
writing,
yes. Oh
right?
yes.
I mean, there's literal power in that, and
Indeed.
so much the Lord kind of showed me one of the main reasons why I believe slave owners wanted to siphon off the opportunity for
Mhm.
our foreparents
Sure.
to be able to read and write, because what's the old adage? Knowledge breeds power.
Amen. Yes.
Power
Yes.
always breeds confidence.
That's right.
You can't have confidence without power. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, you really that's never going to work. So I believe that as our foreparents would have read and wrote, that knowledge would have been automatic, power would have been automatic, confidence would have been automatic.
Sure.
A confident person, you cannot stop them.
That's
If
right.
if
That's
there's a
right.
barrier in front of a confident person, he or she's gonna figure out how to get through it, get around it, get over it,
Yes.
or
Yes.
whatever it needs to do to get on the other side, it's gonna happen. All right.
Got
Person that
it.
don't have confidence will see the wall a mile away and say, you know what, too much trouble, I can't do it, and they'll go backwards. But a confident person is there, and then there's healing and confidence,
Oh
right?
yes.
I
Oh
have a
yes.
program what I call the vitamin C's for success, which is
Okay.
called what I mean. The C's are confidence, commitment, courage, consistency, and composure. You get those five
Okay.
components within your spirit, then a person that
Yes.
gets that, I mean, to
That's
answer your
it.
question,
That's it. Yeah.
that's where that all this stuff came. So what happened with me was I became confident, became committed, I became courageous, I became
Yes.
consistent, and I learned the art of composure, which relieves stress.
Oh
Right?
yes. Oh
It makes you
yes.
less react. A person that's composed,
Sure.
you don't get as anxious, or when you're anxious, you learn how to manage that. I mean, because you're still human.
Yeah.
So,
Sure. Sure.
but I look at this: composed person will be committed. A composed person will be courageous. A composed person will be consistent. A consistent person will be confident. A consistent person will be committed. A consistent person will be courageous. I mean, there's so many different things that
Oh,
those five C's will
definitely.
intertwine. But
Definitely.
reading and
Yes.
writing helped foster that, because when I was rejected, I kept going.
Right.
When people said the book
What
wasn't
a
good
huge
enough for
times. Yeah.
their product line, different things had to happen. So much so, and you have a copy of the book, that
Yeah.
even in the back of the book, I have a study section where
Yep.
I have
Yep. Yep.
essay questions, which were born. And until this day, my mother swears that I started that trend, because she was like, no one was doing that for books for young adult. You started
Love
that.
it.
So I was like, Mom, you claim it, I'm with it.
Right,
And
right, right.
my methodology back then was to educate and empower,
Yes,
and
yes.
that was my thought process. And me going through the journey of being rejected those that many times during an 8 year period, I learned the art of business, marketing,
Right.
security. So many different things were born out of that journey, out of
Yes.
that wilderness. And then I think about it now, 38 years later, I wouldn't take that I
Something.
wouldn't take about that journey for the world. So if God would tell me, okay, listen, I'm a give you this and fast forward you to that,
Right.
and I might have said, then yeah, let's do it. But in my right mind, like if I thought about it, if God would have said, listen, if you do it this way, I'm gonna be with you forever.
All
I'm
right
gonna be with you
then.
every step of the way, even though it may seem dark. I'm gonna travel with you so that
Oh,
so
indeed.
once you get to a certain point, when you look back, it'll seem like a day. It'll seem like a minute.
Right,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? And
Footprints in
so
the sand, right?
yeah, exactly. So by me, going through the journey, unknowingly, I'm able to give back. I'm able to talk. I'm able to
Right.
share, and that actually helped my speech impediment. I never forget the great Nikki Giovanni. When I met her, I was at Norfolk State.
Oh,
I didn't
awesome.
graduate there, but I attended.
Sure, sure.
But when I was there, I was a freshman, and I met her through the senior class,
Okay.
and senior class president. And he said, "I'll give you 15 minutes with her, but then she's busy, blah blah blah." She made me stay with. She
Sure.
made me stay with her the rest of the whole day. She was drawn to me. No, I kid you not.
Yes.
She was drawn to me within 5 minutes. She said, "Young man, you have a class?" I said, "Yeah." I was full schedule. She said, I'll write you a note, even if I have to go to the professor myself.
Wow.
So you get it. I want you to stay with me because she can tell something was in me. But one thing she
Yes.
said to me, she said, "When you get your book published," because I was still in mid writing. She said,
Okay.
"When you get your book published," she didn't say if. She said, "When."
Right. You
I want
said
you to go
when.
to
That's
every.
right.
She said, "Get on every soapbox you can. Get on
That's
every
it.
microphone. Get on every this." And I told her, I said, "I stutter." You know, she could hear it.
Oh,
And she know she told me,
right.
"Get
Yes.
over it."
That. How about that? Right. And you
I was like,
have. You're an
"Whoa!"
overcomer.
It felt
Yes.
like it felt hard at the time,
Sure. Sure.
but as I thought about it, she's
Right.
telling me, "Don't let that be a barrier to stop you."
Amen. That's right. That's
And
right.
between that and teaching Sunday school, gave
Yeah.
me the confidence to be able to speak in front of a crowd.
Isn't
And
that
then from there,
awesome?
motivational speaking started coming. Then I started getting paid for for that. So I started getting paid
Sure.
to appear with my books and the motivational speaking, and everything tied into one another. And
Oh, indeed.
I mean, like 30 something, almost 40 years into this, we're
Yes.
still doing it.
Awesome. That is an awesome story of overcoming. I like to use that word a lot. You know, no barriers, right? Just do it. Just
Mhm.
right. Forget
Like,
about what's
like
going
Nike.
on and get it done.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that story. And thank you for sharing about how writing can be healing and all the 5 C's that you shared as well. Those are all important pieces of your journey, but for lots of our listeners as well. All right. So, what impact has your book series had on the past almost 38 years, right?
Uh,
And what impact do you hope your books will have, particularly during these times of good trouble?
well, my books are on the level of James Baldwin and people like that. I get that,
Yeah.
but what I like to think is I could be that bridge to it.
Oh,
It's an
yeah.
easy read, but my thinking is you start reading my book series.
Yeah.
My Friend, My Hero was the first book. He
That's
Was
right.
My Hero Too is the second book. A Hopeful Hero was the third book, and the fourth book will be Hoop Hero. And you notice the word hero is in every book, in
Yeah.
every title,
That's right.
and
That's
that's
right.
done by design because when you see the characters, you see they, especially black and brown boys and girls, you
Oh,
see people that look
indeed.
just like you.
That's
Okay.
right. That's
And so when you read the stories of how they overcame, what they went through, pitfalls, different things of that nature, I get this so much. And I get this from non-readers, the young men and women that don't even like reading books. It's like I can
okay.
relate to this. This
Yeah.
speaks to me. I know somebody like this. My uncle was like this. My brother was like
Yeah.
this. I was like this.
Relatable. Relatable.
So when people can read something that's relatable and you don't hear any cursing, you don't
Right.
see you don't see the bees and holes, and I mean it's not like that,
Right.
but it's
Right.
still
Right.
realistic. That's a powerful thing because they can see that
Yeah.
in the way these characters are played out, and there's a lot of dialogue in it, so the story moves fast, but there are lessons that are learned.
Yeah.
So I like to think that my readers become empowered, they become educated, and they become enlightened. And with that,
Yes.
when they work with the curriculum and they start looking at antonyms, synonyms, homonyms, and it's a workbook. You know, it's pretty thick, so it's very intense, the workbook. But
Right.
there's also a teacher's guide with answers in it.
Ah.
Also, I have a pre-test where,
Uh-huh.
like before, like after the book is read, the teacher or parent can give the young man or woman, the student, a pre-test to see where they are, and then there's a unit assessments to do after everything is done, so they can see where they started and where they
Right.
ended. And
That's
each
right.
book will have that full component. The student success workbook. I mean, we'll call it a guidebook. I'm sorry, student
Right.
success
Sure.
guidebook, teacher edition, pre-test, and unit assessment with the answer keys. So the teacher really don't have to do much of anything but guide the reading, look at the answers, do what they have to do. So they don't have to search or anything. Everything's there. It's
Right.
good for SPED population as well as general population.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, Social emotional learning is at the core. Now, mind you, I had no knowledge of what social emotional learning was at the time. I
Right.
didn't know
Right.
anything about
Exactly. Or trauma, the word trauma or anything.
trauma.
Yeah,
I didn't
right.
know anything about cultural relevant literacy. When I
Sure.
wrote this journey, when God put this thing in my spirit through the speech,
That's right. That's
That was a journey, and again, for us to be here, it's amazing. And I look at, wow, now we're doing a curriculum for each book, the essay questions
right.
at the end of each book, and
Uh-huh.
I'm ready to talk on various topics because each book takes on drug use, relationships
Right.
between parent, child,
Sure.
relationships between boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. I mean, there are a lot of components, family life. There are a
Right.
lot of things
Right.
that are what to do, what not to do, without it being preaching. They just play it out through characters,
Yeah.
overcoming. You know, you may have a character too that was here at one point in the story, but then when you see them, they're here and they're giving back. So there are a lot of things that are so powerful within this that I'm be honest with you, I marvel at it. You know, because
Oh,
I'm
of
even though
course.
I'm the
I've
reader,
been
I mean I'm
too.
the
As
writer,
I've
I'm
been going
sorry.
through each thing. Uh-huh.
Yeah. When
Yes.
I'm reading and see it, I'm like, God, you do all things well, don't you? so so
Yes, he does.
it's been
And you
amazing.
are the vessel for that.
You know
You
what's
are the
funny?
vessel.
Someone told me that,
Uh-huh.
and I never get an older lady told me in the '90s.
Okay,
She
yeah.
said, "Young man," she said, "God must have had His hand on you when you wrote this book."
Oh, I love it. I
And I
love
mean, and we were at the infantile wave. I said the word right. Uh, uh, um,
yes, uh-huh.
of this book. It was on the first publication, but it was getting so much traction. She
Right.
was like, God must have had His hand on you when you wrote this book. But I do remember praying a lot. I do remember fasting a lot. I
Yes.
remember just doing everything where I said, Lord, take over my hands. So when
Yes.
I did that,
Yes.
I got out of God's business.
How
I like
about
to think
that?
that way. I got out of his, even though I was writing, I got out of his business. I got
Yes.
out of his way. I let him do his thing. And so the word vessel came up when I was talking to someone else. They
Okay.
said, you're the vessel. Because I was telling, I said, I stutter. I mean, how am I doing all this? Person
Oh,
said,
no, that's not
it's not just about you,
a
you're the vessel.
deterrent.
Yeah, you're the vessel. Your thing is just to get in the way. So I learned
Well,
that. Don't get in
that's
the
true,
way.
right? I have learned that myself.
Get
Step
get out
aside
my
and let
way. Your
God do
benefit
it,
is get out my
right?
way. Get out the way. Let me do this.
Indeed. So, where can we find your fantastic book series and companion guides and
Well,
assessment?
the sure, the book series can be found everywhere books are sold. Amazon,
Okay, great.
um, Walmart. I even saw it. Walmart's carrying it.
Oh,
I don't.
nice.
Yeah. Target's carrying it. I mean, everywhere books are sold. So I go through Amazon in England and Book Baker and Taylor. So
Ah,
libraries get it as well. So it's getting out there. The companion guide, the curriculum, they only sold through me and my company
okay,
right
yeah,
now. We're not doing online just yet. We were waiting on getting some
sure.
security stuff because you can do some stuff with that, and
Yes,
I don't want to happen just yet. So
right.
so schools have bought it through me personally, and
Okay.
now I would send, like I sent to you, I can send a draft copy for an educator or parent to see it.
Oh,
But of course
wonderful.
it's gonna have like what I sent you has draft on it,
Yeah,
so you don't use
exactly.
those.
Yes.
But I'll send you the guide so you can see it and see how it plays out. But when you go to
So
purchase it, you purchase through my company, and but
wonderful.
I love
And
it.
that's
Before the
at your
pandemic hit,
website? I apologize.
huh?
Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. The website is theherobookseries.com, and you got to
Awesome.
put the in it. All right, so you don't just write heroseries.com. Theherobookseries.com, and of course you'll see my handsome face. I mean, you'll see my face on when you
Yes.
first go on, and then you go through the journey of the website. Also, there's a page on there. It says books. You can go through it and you can see the trailers of each book. So
Yes.
you
Uh-huh.
click on the website, and it's about each one they average about a minute long. I'm sorry, about 90 seconds, in length, and you'll see a synopsis played out with characters of what the book's about.
Yes,
And
that's so cool.
it's again, for me starting this book writing on an ironing board because I didn't have a desk, and my first nine
Nice
drafts
now.
went by hand. So us to
Yes.
be here, I also have the book in stage play musical form,
Oh, okay.
as well as a script for it. So so many different things have came about.
Yes.
This is why I said earlier there's so much powerful. There's so much power in reading and writing.
Oh, indeed. Indeed.
And unfortunately, there are situations happening. I just saw something in Baltimore. happened. I know I'm digressing a little bit. I'll be quick. Where this young man was, this is all over the internet, so you can Google it. This
Uh-huh.
young man was promoted to the top of his class. I think he was number 62.
Okay.
But when it turned out, in 4 years, he only passed 3 classes.
Oh,
So
okay.
his
Oh,
GPA
just
was zero.
now, just recently you saw
No,
that.
like within the
Yes,
last day or
yes,
two.
I
I
did
mean, like
see that.
yeah,
I
you
did
can
see
yeah
that.
recently
Like a
like
point
as
one three GPA or
there
something
you
like
go,
that.
there you go, there you go, there you
Yes,
go.
wow.
And now this young man got caught.
Right.
I mean, or the system got caught.
Well, yeah, there
We
you go.
don't know how many
Right.
got through this. See, now
Sure.
you have a situation where I don't want to get on soapbox too much, but it angers me
Oh, of
that
course.
that our particularly black and brown boys
That's
are
right. That's great.
graduating high school with a second, third, and fourth grade reading level.
Ooh,
Most
Lord.
skills they can't write cursive,
Right, right.
so that means they don't know how to sign their name. Some of them really don't even know how to spell their name correctly. To be honest with you,
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
they
You're
don't
right.
know how to put a sentence into structure,
You're
writing
right.
a paragraph. I mean, there's so many different things that are happening with these young men. Once you
Sure.
graduate,
Woo.
you're letting them press a button and
Mm,
pass through. Then
wow.
you put these young men on the street. So basically, what you're doing is you're sending them into a war
Oh,
that
Lord.
that the
Yes.
enemy is fighting with high machinery, guns, and whatever, and you're giving them a
Yes,
slingshot.
indeed.
And here's the thing:
Exactly.
you're giving them a
Exactly.
slingshot without even a rock. You're
Right.
not even giving them a rock. You're just giving them a slingshot and say, "Here,
Now,
figure it out."
you're right. You're right.
You give them. You're not even giving them a rock. So I'm
Right.
like,
Yeah.
but again, it's happening too much,
It
and,
happens a
and, and
lot
it's
and for
breeding.
decades. Like, right, it's not new, right? Unfortunately,
It's
it's not
scary,
new. It's
and
really
see, young
scary.
men like that
Right.
can end up in the system, the penal system. You know
Sure.
what I mean?
Right,
And
right.
doing seven to 10 on some old crazy charge, or they can end up 6 feet because some cop decided to shoot him because they look suspicious or whatever. Or you
Right.
get this horror culture of black on black crime
Right, right,
because
right. Exactly. Exactly.
this is serious. But I
Ex
do find that when young men and women have something in the brain, where they're educated,
Yes. Oh,
where
yes.
they start to develop goals because reading and writing is at a premium to them, they can figure things out.
Oh,
Yeah,
of
I never
course.
forget my old boss at the college. I'm adjunct professor, and once told me, he said, Jerald, if young people, this is an older Jewish man, so I really think when he was
Yeah.
saying that, he was saying if young black and brown boys in particular understood this concept,
Sure,
if you
sure.
can read and write competently, you can get a job anywhere.
Oh, of
You know
course.
what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And when he said it, I had thought about it before, but for him to say it
Right,
just made my heart like sing. And I'm like, finally somebody agrees with me.
right,
But
right.
you really can
No,
because
indeed.
you can figure things out. If you
Yes.
can read and write, that brain start to work for you.
Yes.
You figure no, really, you figure things out.
Oh,
But
you're right.
if your brain is not used to writing, reading, processing,
Oh,
analyzing, rationalizing, problem solving, different things of that nature. You see one thing, react to it. That's it.
that explains a lot, right? Yes, indeed. Wow. Well, we're going to make sure we get all of your links for your works inside our story notes so our listeners can just click
Mhm.
those links and order, which includes your website as well as Amazon, etc. Awesome. Thank you so much. We got one more question. If
Okay.
you could have a billboard with anything on it, what legacy message would you print on it and why?
Confidence breeds competence. Competence breeds knowledge. Power breeds results.
Yes.
Basically, I think one of my favorite words in the vocabulary of our words, our universe, is confidence. Confidence is the key to the breakthrough. It really is. And confidence doesn't mean arrogance. It just means this is going to happen. And I'll say this really quick.
That's
I
right.
really believe that, I know this is not a religious topic, but I believe when God spoke, let light be,
Oh,
he
sure.
didn't speak through faith because I believe God is faith himself.
Okay. All
He's
right.
God.
All right.
When
Yes.
he spoke it with such confidence that it's like, okay, when I say this, this is going to happen.
Uh,
Like
yeah,
what
of
the Bible says, it talks about. call those things that be not as if they were. This is why it's important that people of a lower state don't continue to murmur and complain, because you breathe that.
There
You
you
breathe
go.
that. And,
Right?
and I really believe that, again, it's not really just talking,
Oh,
but
I do
I'm
too.
giving the
Absolutely.
philosophy of what happens
Speak it into
when,
existence, right?
right, because when those 10 spies came back with that bad report, right?
Yes.
The problem is it wasn't so much that they believed it, right? But the fact that they were murmuring and talking, and they were spreading that throughout the camp.
That's
So
right.
now you're making that job even harder. Like now it's like, yo, Moses is lost his mind because these people are 9 feet tall. They're gonna kill us.
Right.
So you're killing other people's confidence
Yes.
by your words.
Yes. Yes. That's
And
right.
this is why when they say misery loves company, because it does. Misery does love company. But when you just say, nah, we got this, this is gonna happen. Nah, but it's a talk. No, we're going to do this. Why?
Yes.
Because now again, when you start to think like that, things start to turn. And then as you start traveling, even though you may think you're traveling by yourself, I can promise you, because hard work is never defeated, somebody will come into your life, whether it's permanently or temporarily, or somebody just to help you from one place to another, and then they're gone forever. They got you to
Sure.
where God wants you to be.
That's
And
right.
that's
That's
so
right.
important. The
Yes.
journey is not state. And you think about this. Let's be real about this.
Uh-huh.
Nothing in life is stationary.
No, that's true.
Nothing. The earth is not stationary.
No.
Everything moves, everything rotates. So you can't
Yeah.
just sit still and just be and think idly. Well, I'm sorry, sitting still is one thing. Idly by is something different.
Right. Right.
Being at rest, processing things is different. That's okay. You don't have to be like a pinball where you just all over the place. No, we're not talking about that. But you can't just be idly by and expect everybody to bring things to you. Nah, that's not how it works. But when you're in that on this journey where you're pushing forward,
Yes.
somebody will always come into your life. Now they may not be the same sex, same race, same age, same anything.
Right.
It'll be something or someone, or I mean, the way the thing happens, you may see someone on television that a word will come to you. I mean, anything can happen, but
Right.
when you're on that journey and you're intentional about it, that's the
Yes,
key. Your
indeed.
intention.
Being
When you're intentional
intentional.
about moving forward, doors have to open.
Oh,
And
indeed.
so that's why I said, and I learned this. I got this from a professional athlete. Hard work is undefeated. You
Yes.
it just is. When you put time into something, you're gonna reap something.
Oh,
That's a
yes.
law. But again, but the way you speak, and like I said, I really believe that when God spoke, light be, He spoke with such confidence that it had no choice but to obey. And I
Yes.
think that when we get into a funk where we think we're in a funk, speak your way out of it.
That's right.
I mean, and I'm not kidding when I say this.
Right.
Speak your way out of it, even though, and you might not see it right away. I mean, like in other words, in your mind's eye, you may not see it physically, but things are
Right.
starting to move. Atmosphere starting to shift. Speak your way out of it. That's why you may. When people ask me, "Hey man, how you doing?" I just say I'm as good as always. And I got that from
Right.
a preacher. I don't know who it was, but I just happened to see something on television or on YouTube,
Oh,
and he was talking
sure.
about something, and he said he don't care how his day is. When somebody asks him how you doing, he says, "I am as good as always."
All
But that's
right.
powerful because
Oh,
your
indeed.
mind and your spirit is hearing that, and when you
Indeed.
voice it, things have to churn. And you do that, and you
Yes.
lessen bad days, you lessen bad moments. How you doing? I'm as good as always.
That's
Bam,
right.
that thing
Love
starts to
it.
get in motion.
Love it.
But
Yes.
again, knowledge brings power. But if you're not in the knowledge how to do things, like the Bible tells us, my people
Right.
perish for lack of what? Knowledge. That
That's it. That's it.
we can do this. It's a matter of how we speak. Like I have a program when I call it think, say, do.
Uh-huh.
Think it, think it,
Think, say,
speak
do.
it, do it.
Awesome.
Think, say, do.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much. We learned so much from you today. I mean, we better schedule another podcast episode where we can unpack some more. Absolutely loved hearing from you. I'm very inspired. I was before we got on here, but I'm even more so now. I know so much more about your why and how that impacts your writings and your curriculum guides and assessments, etc. And just the work that you do. I bet you're an amazing speaker, so I would love to hear one of your speeches one day. Well, you have an awesome rest of the day.
You as well.
All
May
right.
God bless. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Same for you. Well, that concludes another episode of Coaching You Through All Things Education. As Confucius states, those people who develop the ability to continuously acquire new and better forms of knowledge that they can apply to their work and into their lives will be the movers and shakers in our society for the indefinite future. Again, you can find me on LinkedIn and Twitter, or you can also find us on our Facebook page, A&C Unlimited. As a reminder, for a free consultation in any area of education that you choose, for educators, administrators, or parents, please visit acunlimited.org. Until next time, stay stress-free and be well.